All right, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Congratulations on the success of the show, first of all, and secondly, congratulations on the second season pickup.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we're very, very proud and just so humbled by the response that we've had for the show. We thought it was going to be successful, but we didn't know it was going to blow up like this. So we're pretty happy.
What intrigued you most about the script, and what ultimately convinced you to take on the role?
Well, when Taylor first told me about it, he said, "I'm writing something with you in mind. I'm writing it in your voice." And he told me about, you know, essentially what the show was about and what the character was all about. And it just intrigued me because you don't get a look behind the curtain of the oil business very often. I mean, the last one I remember where you kind of saw it was, I mean, movie it was Giant, with Rock Hudson and Elizabeth
Sure,
Taylor
yeah,
and Jack.
yeah,
And I was telling a journalist one day, I said, this is kind of like Giant with cursing. But, um, and then, of course, you had Dallas, but that was more of a nighttime soap kind of thing, but this really gets into the nitty-gritty of what this world is and how it affects the people in it and around it. So that really intrigued me.
You said he had your voice in mind when you wrote it, which is very evident. This is very much your kind of role. But how would you describe Tommy, and what parts of his background and personality was most compelling for you to explore?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things in season one was the fact that his friend, his old friend, is the one who kind of went that way and became a, rich guy. And Tommy now is working for him. So in season one, I thought that was an interesting dynamic because you know how that would feel. Like if you had a best friend who suddenly you were like their sort of foreman, or something. It's kind of weird. But I think Tommy is a guy who's driven by uh, just the only thing he knows. It's like I have to make it in this world because it's what I know. And so he's driven to be a success in it, not to buy houses and be wealthy and stuff, but just like, some people have these obsessive personalities, like I've got one myself. And so I think he doesn't want to be a failure. I think he's just, hell bent on making things work out okay. And he's also the kind of guy I think that he needs, it's almost as much as he complains about the chaos, there's something about the chaos that he must need somehow. And I mean, with the oil business and with the family, because the family is pretty chaotic. And
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that too, because to me, every aspect of his life, it seems Tommy's in middle management, whether it be
mhm.
an actual job or his family, or even with the cartel and the cartel and the military. He's always in the middle.
Yes.
I'm wondering if that informed your performance at all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely did. Because he's a guy, like you said, he's in between everybody. I mean, at home, he's certainly not running the show. I mean, he lives in a circus, and I think he just cleans up the elephant tents at home. But um, and then, the job of a landman, I mean, you're in between the oil company, the ownership, and the people out in the field. So he's a guy who he wants to make money for his boss, and at the same time, he wants to protect the guys out in the fields doing this highly dangerous job. And so yeah, there's a certain amount of like, Tommy kind of has everything. He's got cynicism, he has some joy. Uh, he's a guy trying to get better. He's trying to, he's trying to not drink. He's trying to make a stab at it again with his ex. He's trying to be a father. He's trying to protect the people in the oil field, and he's trying to make money for his boss. So he's just got the weight of the world on his shoulders, really. And so, yeah, I was aware of that the whole time, aware that, Tommy's stuck in the middle of this circus.
Have you heard from any oilmen, any the landmen or oil workers? And if so, what's been the response been?
Yeah, I mean, they're I think they're just happy to be represented, and and the show is not it doesn't really have an agenda. It's just showing you what happens.
Right.
It's not, yay oil or boo oil. It's just, this is the way it works in the oil business. This is, well, I was just telling someone earlier, it's like Goodfellas. It's not like, they're saying, "Hey, aren't mobsters really cool? And isn't murder excellent?" But people watch it because it's just a world you don't get to see that often. And but it's kind of went off subject on you there, but it was just um, it's interesting to see this world and what it really does, how it operates, what the goals are, and all this kind of stuff. So yes, oil men have come up to me. And for the most part, the only thing I ever get from them that's not just like Landman's my favorite show, because it is. I mean, they come up to me all the time. But um, every now and then they'll say, "Well, you'd never use an X14 wrench on that kind of gasket or what, whatever the heck it
Right.
is. And I'm like, well, look, I don't write it. I just,
Right.
and then they'll say, "Oh no, you weren't using the wrong wrench. It was that other guy, whatever it is." So, anytime you're doing a movie about a profession, somebody is always going to say, I'm surprised nobody came up to me after Bad Santa and said, "Well, I'm a mall Santa, and you would never have your beard off."
Yeah, right. Now you've been at this for a while. Um, I'm curious as to what you think you are bringing to this role that you wouldn't have brought into it earlier in your career.
That's an interesting question, one I've never been asked about anything. That's really interesting. What did I bring to it now that I wouldn't have? Uh, Probably a swagger. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it that way, but I mean, there's because there is a certain confidence in this character. Even though he's a mess and his life's a mess, he still, uh, he still goes at things. I mean, it's not like he backed down from these cartel guys, you know. And I think early in my career, I might have played Tommy a little bit more afraid. And I think Tommy in a lot of ways is fearless. He's probably more afraid of his wife than he is anybody else. Uh, but uh, but I would say that'd be the main thing. Yeah, probably.
How would you? Now, this is the first. It's not your first time working with Taylor. Obviously, you worked with him in
Right.
1883. How was it working with him on this project?
Well, it was great. I mean, Taylor wrote some wonderful scripts, and his writing's pretty tight. It's really good. And Taylor has actually been very loose with me. I mean, normally, there's not a lot of improvisation on his stuff, and
Sure.
Uh, as a matter of fact, I'd say Taylor and the Coen brothers, who I worked with a couple of times, they've had scripts that you stuck to more than anybody
Sure.
I've ever worked with, and so but with me, he said, "Look, you're a writer, you're a director, you get this stuff. We're partners in this." And so every now and then I'll throw something in there, and if he likes it, he keeps it. So he's not maybe as strict, on me. But his writing is so good that I rarely do anything outside of it. But once in a blue moon, you just feel it, you just do something, you know.
I want to talk about the cast a little bit. You got a pretty stacked cast. I had the opportunity to interview Jacob like 8 years ago when he was this young up and coming actor. I was really happy to see him pop up in this.
Right.
And Allie, I've interviewed Allie as well. She's great. Can you talk about working with the cast in this project?
The great thing about these streaming shows, as opposed to a movie, on a movie, you're there for a couple, 3 months, whatever it is. And, you can kind of get close to the crew or the cast, but then it's over and usually lose touch with people and everything. But since this is an ongoing thing, we've actually become almost like the family in the movie. I mean, Allie and I will go out somewhere, And of course, she picks the restaurant. She tells me, what I need to wear, don't look like a bum in here, stuff like that. So, which I usually do, by the way. And so we've gotten really close, and Allie and I have become really good friends, and Michelle and I have a real father-daughter relationship
Nice.
in real life too, because I have a 20-year-old daughter who's actually in college now, so I have a soft spot,
So do I.
fathers and daughters, you know
Well,
how that
I can
is,
tell you how much I relate to your character and his relationship with his daughter. A
right?
lot of parallels. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
All right. And you would not want to hear some of that stuff from your
No,
daughter,
no,
right?
not at all.
So, but yeah, and Jacob, Jacob and I actually grew up, obviously in different times, but about an hour and a half from each other in Arkansas.
Wow.
And so, and then I moved to Houston, Texas after school, and then to LA, but Jacob's still there. And I just as soon as I met him, I recognized him as being, oh yeah, that's the kid down the block that I knew growing up. So we're all, I mean, it always sounds kind of trite to say we've really become a family, but it's just the truth. I
Sure, yeah.
mean, and there's no other way to put it, really. And plus, having the opportunity to work with people that I've known for a long time, but hadn't really worked with. I'd worked with Demi. I had a couple of scenes in a movie she did back in '89 or something. But and I did 3 movies with Bruce. So she would always bring the kids to the set and visit. So I've known her over the years. And
Yeah.
now we get a chance to actually do stuff together. It's great. And same goes with Sam Elliott. I've known him since the mid '80s. And we've done a couple of things together, but just a couple of scenes. And so to have him around, because he's a hero of mine, I love him. And then Andy Garcia and I've known each other for a long, long time. Never worked together until now. So that's been a real pleasure because I've got these incoming younger people I'm working with that I didn't know beforehand. And then the veterans who I've known for years and didn't work with that much. And so it's all come together in a really nice way.
I know you gotta wrap this up in a minute, but I do want to ask you about the last line of the first season. They shoot coyotes around here. It's a
Yeah.
kind of prolific line from Tommy. I was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit and talk about what it meant to the character.
Well, I think when Tommy sees the coyote, there are 2 coyote scenes. There's one earlier
Right.
in an episode too, and and he just locks eyes with this coyote. And Taylor and I talked it over. In the first coyote scene, there was several lines of dialogue to myself and then to a neighbor, and we talked it over one night, and we decided it's like this should have no dialogue because you're kind of putting a hat on a hat.
Sure.
You know what I mean? To say, you may be a sign. I guess you are a sign. And then it's like, well, I think that you get that. You know what I mean? It's more important to let that come out in the eyes and in the thoughts than it is in dialogue. Uh, and so really, to me anyway, and I think Taylor agrees with this in terms of what he meant when he wrote it. The coyote is like he's like a it's symbolic to me as a metaphor. And I think Tommy looks at this coyote like, am I the coyote or is the coyote going to eat me? Am I going to kill a coyote or is the coyote going to kill me? It's like, which one am I in
Wow.
this? And I think he identified with this coyote in some weird, way, just like seeing this coyote staring at him, and it's like, what's your part in this? Well, what's your part in this? And I think Tommy saw himself in the coyote,
All right.
and I think he also saw his potential future or maybe demise
Right.
in this coyote. Yeah.
Well, thanks again. Anything we can? I mean, you can't pretty short-lived about season two, obviously, but anything we can expect out of season two?
Well, we've been shooting for about a month and a half, and I am loving it, I have to say. The relationships are getting even more, developed, and The cast is gelling even more, and it's just seeming more and more real every day. So I'm very, very happy with it, and it deals with the relationships a lot this year. So I'm very
Excellent.
happy about that.
Well, congratulations again. Thanks again for taking the
Thank
time,
you.
and good luck.
All right, take care of your daughter. I'll take care of
I
mine.
will do. Take care. Bye bye.